हेलो गाइस। आज का हमारा टॉपिक है एक्वेटिक माइक्रोबायोलॉजी, जिसे हम लोग कहते हैं वाटर माइक्रोबायोलॉजी। सो व्हाट वी नो अबाउट द माइक्रोबायोलॉजीज, लाइक व्हाट इज माइक्रोबायोलॉजीज? सो इट इज द स्टडी ऑफ माइक्रोऑर्गेनिजम्स present in the water, that is called aquatic microbiology. In general form, we can say the study of microbes that is not seen by our naked eyes, that is microbiology. So in microbiology we have many types of many branch of microbiologies, like soil microbiologies, aquatic microbiologies. Like that we have aquatic microbiologies. So whatever the microbes and whatever the living organisms is present in the water, that is affect the conditions of water, as well as it also affect the living conditions of the other organisms present in the water. So we are going to discuss all those microbes terminologies and also some microbes. So let us start. So the first one is microbiology of natural water ecosystems. So what we know about the natural water ecosystems, like rivers, we have rivers, lakes, oceans, and seas. So these are the natural large water ecosystems. Then we have also domestic waters, which are in daily life we use water for day-to-day activity for our different purposes, like washing, for bathing, like drinking of water. So water is also associated by our day-to-day activity life. Then what is the roles and interactions of microorganisms? Then types of water bodies. So there are generally two types of water bodies found in the earth. The first one is freshwater ecosystems and the second one is marine ecosystems. So freshwater ecosystems generally do not presence of any salt material. But in marine ecosystem we found a lot of salty material. And even the water of marine ecosystem is salty, like seas, and in oceans and estuaries we found a salty water material. So in freshwater ecosystem, so whatever the water ecosystem we are going to discuss, they have their another branch. Like in freshwater ecosystem where we discuss about the rivers, lakes, ponds and wastelands, that is limnology. So there are two types of freshwater ecosystem. So the first one is running water bodies like rivers, and the second one is stagnant water bodies like ponds. So the running water bodies is called lotic, and the stagnant water bodies is called lantic. In marine ecosystems, so whatever the things we are going to discuss, like ocean, estuaries, so this has another subject that is called oceanography. Ocean means ocean and the graphy means their study. So let us discuss first the aquatic microorganisms. So we have some different terminologies like nectons, planktons, and the benthic. So what is nectons? So whatever the free floating organisms and swimming, the organisms which has a free floating ability and they have their capacity to swimming, like fish. So these are called nectons. And what is planktons? So organisms suspended in water column. So there are two types of planktons found in water ecosystems. First one is phytoplanktons and the second one is zooplanktons. So phyto means plant, okay, and the planktons means which organisms which suspended in water column. So whatever the plant's material suspended over the water column, that is called phytoplanktons, like algae, bacteria, and yeast. And whatever zooplanktons, so the organisms which floating or which suspended over the water, that is called zooplanktons, like protozoans and small animals. Then discuss through benthic. What is benthic? So the present on the surface of any material. So there are two types of benthic, epilithic and epiphytic. So benthic means whatever the organisms present on the surface of any material, that is benthic. So there are only two types of benthic. The first one is epilithic benthic and the second one is epiphytic growing. So epilithic growing on non-living things like rocks and muds. So whatever the organisms which grown on the non-living materials like rocks and muds, that is epilithic growing. And whatever the organisms which grow on the surface of living things like aquatic plants, that is called epiphytic growing. So that is the pictorial representation of lake ecosystem. So this is terrestrial plants which grow on the surface of the soil. Then littoral zone found. So we have seen here the immersed plants and even the floating plants. And these are the plants which are submerged. That is called submerged plants. Then we have limnatic zones, and this is the euphotic zones. So later we will discuss about the photic, aphotic, and all those things. This is the benthic zone, and this is the euphotic zones. Then discuss about the lake ecosystems. So there are only two types of ecosystem. The first one is horizontal zonation and the second one is vertical zonation. Like here we can see this is the horizontal zonation, limnatic zones, littoral zones, and this is the euphotic zone. This is vertical zonation. In lake ecosystems, in horizontal zonation, we found Newton, photic zone, aphotic zone, sediments, and also some benthic. So let us discuss one by one. Newton. So uppermost layer exposed to sunlight. So whatever the layer which exposed to sunlight in the upper part, that is called Newton. And what is photic zone? So depth of water till sunlight can penetrate. So what are the depth of water where the sunlight can penetrate at the last? That is called photic zones. So as a general, we know there only 200 meters, only up to about 200 meters, the water can penetrate on the water. So that is photic zone. And what is aphotic zone? Aphotic zone, it is also called profoundal zone. So depth of water beyond light penetration. So it is the depth of water where light cannot pass through after those zones. That is aphotic zones. Then light compensation line. That is light compensation line. Then what is sediments? So intermediate zone between aquatic and lithosphere. So what is lithosphere? We know hydrosphere, lithosphere, atmosphere. So lithos means rock surface or the soil. So what are the intermediate zone between aquatic means hydrosphere and lithosphere, that is called sediment. Then what is benthic? So lithosphere below the aquatic. So the layer present below the water, that is called benthic layer. Then the next one is lake ecosystem in vertical zonation. So the first one is littoral zone and the second one is limnatic zone. So what is littoral zone? So the zone of water where there is growth of plants, aquatic plants, and sunlight can reach the sediments usually nearer to shore. That is called littoral zone. Limnatic zone, so zone of the water where sunlight cannot reach the sediments. That is limnatic zones. Microorganisms in lake ecosystems. So newstones, we have discussed about the newstones. Region is dominated by pigmented bacteria and yeast. The photic zone is the photic zone is dominated by photosynthetic microorganisms, which are primary producers of lake ecosystem, especially fish and other aquatic animals. So recently, an article I have seen that a majority of oxygens on the earth which are produced by the phytoplanktons. So all those phytoplanktons are living in these photic zones, which are photosynthetic microorganisms, and they are the primary producers of lake ecosystems, especially fish and other aquatic animals. So whatever the animals like aquatic animals like fish, these are all living in the photic zone. Because after this we are going to find aphotic zone where sunlight cannot pass through. Then aphotic zone is inhabited by wide variety of heterotrophic microorganisms which depend on dead organic matter from photic zone. So whatever the organic matter which are released by the primary producers like phytoplanktons. So all those organic matter are consumed by the heterotrophic microorganisms that are secondary consumers. The dead organic matter of photosynthetic and heterotrophic organisms slowly settle at the bottom, that is sediment dominated by many anaerobic microorganisms which degrade dead organic matter completely. Then this is the very important topics which are asked in many examinations about what is eutrophication of lakes. So generally lakes are pristine in nature. They are deep, they have low nutrient like nitrogen and phosphorus, then normal oxygen flux. Due to activities of human like agriculture, industries, minings, and etc. a lots of factories, so they receives lot of nutrients in the form of effluents and fertilizers. And these effluents fertilizers which induce the rapid growth in photosynthetic microorganisms in photic zone, mainly algae, that is algal bloom. So when these algae die, they add lot of dead organic matter to aphotic zone, which in turn enhance the growth of heterotrophic microorganisms, leading to depletion of dissolved oxygen in water, resulting in death of many aquatic animals. That is eutrophication. So क्या होता है कि जितने भी डेड ऑर्गेनिक मैटर प्रेजेंट होते हैं एफोटिक जोन में, वो क्या करते हैं सारे। सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल क्या होता है कि जितनी भी फैक्ट्रियाज होती है, इंडस्ट्रीज होती है, उनमें से बहुत सारे न्यूट्रिएंट्स लाइक नाइट्रोजन और फास्फोरस और फर्टिलाइजर्स के रूप में कुछ एफ्लुएंट्स रिलीज होते हैं। वो एफ्लुएंट्स वाटर बॉडीज के पास जाते हैं, ठीक है। उसके बाद क्या होता है कि उसके जैसे न्यूट्रिएंट्स मिलते हैं तो एल्गी का ग्रोथ जो होता है वाटर इकोसिस्टम्स में वो रैपिडली इंक्रीज हो जाता है, जिसके कारण मास मल्टीप्लिकेशन ऑफ एल्गी होता है। आफ्टर दैट क्या होता है कि वो सारे अब मरने लगते हैं और सारे डेड ऑर्गेनिक मैटर प्रोड्यूस करने लगते हैं। ये जितने भी डेड ऑर्गेनिक मैटर होते हैं वो सारे एफोटिक जोन में जाते हैं और वहाँ हेटरोट्रॉपिक माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स होते हैं वो डिप्लीट करते हैं टू डिप्लीशन ऑफ डिजोल्व ऑक्सीजन इन वाटर रिजल्टिंग इन डेथ ऑफ मैनी एक्वेटिक एनिमल्स। वहां से वो क्या करते हैं, वो सारे ऑक्सीजन को खुद कंज्यूम करने लगते हैं, जिसके कारण क्या होता है मछलियों को ऑक्सीजन नहीं मिल पाता है। सो दैट इज द प्रोसेस कॉल्ड यूट्रोफिकेशन। देन देयर इज सम सेवरल लेवल्स ऑफ यूट्रोफिकेशन, दैट इज अल्ट्रा ओलिगोट्रॉपिक, then oligotropic, then mesotropic, then eutrophic, then hypertrophic. Then eutrophication of lake. So what is oligotropic lakes and what is eutrophic lakes? So in oligotropic lakes there is a deep lakes. Oligotropic generally are deep lakes and eutrophic lakes is generally shallow lake. In oligotropic lakes we find a low nutrient content. There's a low nutrient content means they have less amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, they have less amount of fertilizers. And in eutrophic lakes we have high nutrient content. They have content or high nutrient material present in the water. Then in oligotropic lakes there is normal oxygen flux. In eutrophic lakes there is a disturbed oxygen flux. In oligotropic lakes, they are in equilibrium state, but in eutrophic lakes, equilibrium states are breaks due to heterotrophic organisms. In oligotropic lakes, there is a high dissolved oxygen, but in eutrophic lakes, low dissolved oxygen. Why? Because the heterotrophic organisms already consume the oxygen. In oligotropics, there is a slow nutrient recycling, but in eutrophic lakes, there is rapid nutrient recycling. Then what is river ecosystems? So generally we have seen river is running water. There is nutrient spiraling. How nutrient spiraling? So the water every times they are running, and when they are running, it also take a lot of sediments, and also by sediments they spiral the nutrients from one place to another places. There's a constant interaction with lithosphere because it running through on the surface of lithosphere in continuous addition of nutrients because it flows from one place to another place, so there is a always continuous addition of nutrients. Then composition of microorganisms is dynamic. Then we have marine ecosystems which covers more than 70% of earth's surface, and it also rich in salts but very low concentrations of essential nutrients required for growth of any organisms. And nutrient recycling is very slow. It takes many times and it also takes many years for recycling of nutrients. Usually desert with no growth and activity of microorganisms. So growth is restricted towards seashore where solar light can penetrate to floor of oceans. Coral reefs and thermal vents. More activity of microorganisms and hence fish and other aquatic animals are present in this marine ecosystems. So as we know for your knowledge, so coral reefs are a very medicinal use. They have diverse use in the medical field. So the coral reef, if you talk about the value of coral reef in the world, so that is $9 trillion. So economists has calculated that the coral reef based industries they have $9 trillion economy. So if coral reefs are degraded, so we are going to lose our financial which we are going to uh, take from the coral reefs. Then what is estuaries? So this is the meeting point of river with oceans. So this is the place or this is the point where river and oceans are meet. For example, if we take the examples of Luni River, okay, so that is passed through the Gulf of Kutch and it also meet in the Arabian Ocean. So that are the examples of estuaries. Then highly variable environment that is nutrient temperature and pH. Microorganisms inhabiting are known as ureotolerant which can withstand varying conditions. So in the estuaries, we are going to see a highly variable environment. They have very variability in the nutrients, also temperatures, and also in pH. Because the rivers are freshwater ecosystems and the oceans are marine ecosystems. So when they are meet, so there is a lot of variations happening in those points. So microorganisms inhabiting are known as ureotolerant, which can withstand varying conditions. So microorganisms which are inhabiting in those areas that is urotolerant. Microbiology of domestic water. So for day-to-day activity, we consumed water for drinking purpose, for bathing purpose, for washing purpose, for cooking purpose, and a lot of things. So water used for domestic purpose. So whatever the microbiological safety of domestic water, at most concerned since it is the medium for many waterborne diseases. It also so we use water as a drinking purpose, but it also the medium for the waterborne diseases. The diseases like typhoid, paratyphoid, cholera, listeriosis, and many other diseases are transmitted through water. So generally, in there is a region in Kerala where a lot of persons and a lot of people are infected by the listeriosis because waterborne disease in those areas are very critical. For characteristic feature of these pathogens is that they are shed from diseased persons through feces. So whatever these pathogens are released, so they are so the characteristic features of this pathogen is that they are shed from diseased person through feces. So when the fecal matter from diseased person reaches the water sources through sewage, so danger of these pathogens are spreading. Then what is fecal contaminations? So the primary route of infection is drinking water. So if you drink water, if that was not pure and if it was contaminated through a fecal matter, so that is the primary route of infections. The remedy is to prevent fecal contamination through adequate treatment of sewage. So in the latter slides, we are going to see the primary treatment and the secondary treatment and tertiary treatment to prevent the fecal contamination. In microbiological testing of water sample for fecal contamination is compulsory. So there should be compulsion of microbiological testing of water sample for fecal contamination. For example, there is a so Central Groundwater Board is do microbiological testings whatever the sample that is collected from the different regions. So it is impractical to test the water sample for fecal contaminations. Sorry, it is impractical to test the water samples to detect 20 different pathogens. So instead of that, those 20 different pathogens, instead test for the presence of an indicator organism that is Escherichia coli. So we are not going to detect all the pathogens present in the water. In spite of those things, we are going to indicate only the organisms which are mainly responsible for diseases that is Escherichia coli. So by the indication of Escherichia coli, we can say that the water is suitable for drinking or the water is not suitable for drinking. So what is indicator organisms? So they have some their ideal characters. Like it should be present whenever the pathogen is present. It should be present only where there is a real danger of pathogen being present. It must occur in great number than pathogen. It must survive in environment as long as pathogen. It must be easy to detect with high reliability even in the presence of other microorganisms. Like in E. coli meets many of these criteria. So by these following criteria, we can use only one organism that is Escherichia coli. That is the indicator organisms. Then the waste water treatment. So sewage. So what is sewage? So it is a collective term used represent liquid and solid waste carried off in sewers, which consists of domestic water-borne waste, including human excreta and industrial water-borne waste, as well as ground, surface, and atmosphere water. So what is the composition of sewage? So in the sewage components, compositions of water, we are going to find 99% that is water and the remaining is organic and inorganic solids in dissolved and in suspended form. Various types of microorganisms like microfungi, bacteria and protozoa are also present in this water. Intestinal bacteria like coliforms, streptococci, clostridia, micrococci, proteus, pseudomonas and lactobacillus and all other bacterial organisms are present in the water. Then what is the sewage characters? So they have very high BOD and COD. BOD represents for biological oxygen demand and COD represents for chemically oxygen demand. So they have, so if they have more than 10,000 milligram of chemical present in 1 liters of water, so that is COD, then it is also acidic in nature. They are anaerobic with obnoxious gases like methane, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen sulfide. It also may contain heavy metals like arsenic, uranium, cadmium, lead, which also toxic for the human consumption. Then BOD and COD. So BOD is generally biochemical or biological oxygen demand. So amount of dissolved oxygen needed by microorganisms to oxidize the organic matter present in a particular amount of water at 20 degrees Celsius in 5 days. So that is BOD. What is COD? So COD is chemical oxygen demand. So amount of oxygen required for complete oxidation of organic matter present in 1 liter of water. So this BOD and COD expressed as ppm or milligram per liter. So in above slides we have seen there are more than 10,000 milligram per liter. It means the ppm or the biochemical or chemical present in this oxygen in water is very high. COD is always greater than BOD for a given water sample. Now let us discuss through sewage treatments. So there are primarily three treatments is there. The first one is primary treatments, which is also called as physical treatment. The second one is secondary treatment, which is also called biological treatment because microorganisms perform their activities in this secondary treatment. In tertiary treatment, it is also known as chemical treatments. So the sewage or effluent generated from city or any industry must be treated properly and discharged to natural water bodies. So we have seen in the urban areas like in Bombay Municipal Corporation or in Delhi areas. So the sewage is general, whatever the effluents and whatever the waste materials which are associated with water, they are simply discharged to the natural bodies like Yamuna. So these are illegal. So for prevention for these waste, they have established a sewage water treatment where the water go through the several processes. Then sewage is also treat the water where they separated the waste material and they separate the organic or inorganic material, and then the water, the fresh water is discharged, and the normal which are not generally polluted discharged in the Yamuna. So these are the process in the sewage treatment. So in the primary treatment, there is a secondary treatment. So in the primary treatment, we can see the raw sewage is collected by the screens, and screens also what they suspend the bold or big materials from the sewage, and the remaining and the bold and large materials are separated by the screens also, and the remaining particles go through the commutator. Then in this commutator, all the water's waste material, polluted water come through the grid chamber. In this grid chamber, whatever the small particles, balls present in this water system, in this water, that are disposed by the grid disposer. Then the water go through the primary clarifier. In primary clarifier, there is a raw or primary sludge and the primary effluent. Here the sludge and effluents are separated. So whatever the solid material sludge are present, they are go down on the bottom of this equipments. Then primary sludge go out and sludge treatment and disposal happened here. So whatever the solid materials present in this water, they are go through the this pipe and they come out through the sludge treatment and disposal outlet. Then primary clarifier, so primary effluent. So whatever the lighter part which is water present, it goes upward and go through the aeration tank where where there is a big air compression is present which provides air to the aeration tank. Then from here we can see raw or primary sludge collected and disposed outlet from outside. Here the aeration tank provides air. Okay. Then there is a secondary clarifier. So that is primary clarifier where we going to through primary treatment, and then this is the secondary clarifier. So in secondary clarifier we can see biological treatment. So here the microorganisms growth. So when air compress, so a lot of microorganisms are multiplied, and whatever the sludge even present in the after the primary in the secondary treatment, they all go through the activated sludge. Okay, and then it comes out from the sludge outlet. Then again secondary clarifier go to the secondary influent. There we where we use disinfectant. So when disinfectant are used, so whatever the material that was infected, that is become disinfected. So discharge to surface water or tertiary treatment if needed. So what is primary treatment? So treatment using physical forces. Remove suspended solids like grease, floating scum, grease and others. So the screening, trapping, filtering, grit removal, settling, skimming, etc. are happening in primary treatment. Filtered liquid is held in settling tank for settling of suspended particles at bottom. Clarified liquid fed into secondary treatment. Solids, which is sludge, are disposed or composting in anaerobic digester. Then in secondary treatment, biological. So rely upon microorganisms for reducing biological oxygen demand by oxidizing both suspended and dissolved organic matter. It reduces BOD by 80%. So the bacteria which we are going to use this is Juglia ramigera. In secondary methods, trickling filter, rotating biological contractor, submerged aerobic filters, fluidized bed reactors, oxidation lagoons, activated sludge method, septic tanks, Imhoff chambers, sludge digesters are present. So these are the things, equipments we are going to use in the secondary methods. So this is the primary, or you can see the sewage treatment pictorial. So these are generally in large size. You can say they have occupied a larger area. So here the same things. So influent comes out in aeration tanks. Then air pass through the by compression air. Then internal mixed liquid recycle. Then mixed liquor. Then effluent go outside from this side, and waste activated sludge are come out from this side. Then tertiary methods, which is aims to remove non-biodegradable compounds, inorganic animals, PCB, chlorophenols, synthetic pollutants, heavy metals. There is a precipitation, stripping, absorption, filtrations, ultra RO, membro RO. We are going to see in this tertiary method. So that is all about the aquatic microbiology. Thank you.